let's just say if you put your buying hat on, what advice would you give to a company that's just about to undertake a major business process outsourcing deal? Where would some of the risk lie, or where do companies fall down when it comes to doing a big BPO deal?
So let me start with the first one. The way I would think about if I were a buyer is first to make sure that I understand, what is the strategic direction that the company is taking. And I need to understand that because I need to make sure that if I decide to buy, it must fit in with the strategic direction the company is taking. I've seen companies where the strategic direction of the company is around growth, is around branding, is around repackaging and those kind of things. And then someone in the organization kicks off a project to do shared services and outsourcing.
Right.
And you realize that it doesn't fit in with even the top 5 big strategic directions that the company is taking. So they don't get any buy-in at all from the senior leadership. So to me, that's a big one. Once you get that connect to the strategic direction, you obviously then make sure that the senior leadership team is bought in.
Right.
Into at least saying, with that strategic direction, one of the things that we're going to leverage is outsourcing. One of the things we're going to leverage is creating and finding the right partner or a shared services group that does this for us or works with us.
Right.
So once you're past that, and it has to be done well before you even go through any process of selection.
Right.
Then I think you start the process of figuring out who could potentially be your partners. And I think, again, if since I'm going to be the buyer, I must drink my own Kool-Aid. I would define my metrics very clearly, not just as efficiency metrics that I'm trying to look for, but also effectiveness metrics. Because then I can create a business case that's actually very, very strong. If I can create a business case that says that if I do this, I'll be able to release $200 million of cash from my receivables. I'll be able to get another 10% discount on my buy from my suppliers because I can pay them on time. And I can then go then renegotiate my contracts with my suppliers. Then I create a business case that's extremely powerful. I then make sure I get buy-in from the board and so on. That's easy once you create that kind of a business case.
Sure.
And then I go through the process of selection. My view is where companies fail often, apart from the fact that they often don't connect with the strategic direction of the company and get leadership buy-in, is in the selection process, they tend to spend too much time upfront in the selection process and too little time later on in the process of deciding how do you want to go forward. So let me explain that a little bit. Organizations often spend 6 months talking to 10 suppliers in order to come to the conclusion that these are the final 2 I really want to talk to. And to me, that's a lot of wasted time. Because the real effort that has to go in is quickly figuring out who do you want to work with, and then spending 6 months with them, creating a plan that is actually going to be hugely successful.
Right.
What tends to happen is you spend 6 months going from 10 to 2, then you spend another 6 months going from 2 to 1, and then you're in a hurry because you've spent 12 months and your board is saying, what the hell is happening? So then you want to do everything very quickly.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily work because it's tough.
Yeah.
So I would tend to quickly get to the point of saying, you are going to be my partner. And one of the tests I'm going to put you to is come and work with me to define what the hell we're going to do in order to make this successful.
Yeah.
So rather than me spending all my time trying to create a plan that is successful, I want you to be part of the team that actually creates the plan that makes it successful. Most buyers tend to create the plan and then hand it over saying, now take this.
Right.
I don't think that's the right way to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, think about shared services organizations as part of internal shared services organizations of companies. They are successful because actually the plans are created together.
Okay, so less on the, you said right at the beginning you like decisiveness. So decisiveness and who to select, and then more time on the actual planning, working together in the consultative approach.
Right.
Got it. And Tiger, multi-tower is a term that's used a lot in your industry. So can I ask, which I understand just basically means multifunctional, but is there any clients that you would advise that don't do the multi-tower approach, i.e. they're just better suited for outsourcing 1 or 2 functions as opposed to multiple, or what's your thoughts there?
So I don't think I'll answer that and say yes. What I would say is some clients prefer to do different towers all at one shot. So, we've had clients who do finance and accounting, procurement, IT, help desks, HR, all in the same year. That puts a lot of strain on the organization. Massive strain on the organization, their organization.
Yeah.
So is that a recommended approach? Not so sure. The other dilemma that I think a lot of companies go through is, should I put everything into one basket and ask one or two providers to do everything for me, or should I go to the best of breed? Should I give IT to one guy and should I give HR to someone else who are all experts in their area? I don't think there's one single answer that says one is better than the other. It's to some extent a function of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I think there's limited synergy that we have found between some functions and other functions. I mean, the synergy between HR and finance and accounting or procurement is pretty limited. We haven't found enough synergy there. There are times when there is synergy between ERP and platforms and managing those platforms and rolling new platforms and running a finance and accounting shared services.
Yeah.
But can you still give it to two different people and make it work? Absolutely. In fact, more and more companies, I think, are moving in the direction of best of breed.
That's great. So would you say that a new client that hasn't done BPO before should start with just one tower at a time and sort of gently tiptoe their way into the BPO field?
So the answer is yes, but I wouldn't call it tiptoe. Yeah. Because tiptoe to me says, I want to see if it is successful. The way I would define it is, I know it's going to be successful, but I know this is not easy. So I want to focus my efforts and energies around one of them. Then I want to get that success behind me in order to accelerate on the next two. So it's because I worry about companies that have done what I call putting a toe in the water or a little finger in the water. Most often those fail. Because by definition, when you put a little finger in the water, no CEO is interested in spending time on it. And therefore, by definition, it fails. And therefore, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy saying, I tried it, it didn't work, and therefore I'm not going to grow it. Yeah. But then you tried it with such a small effort that obviously it's not going to work. So what's new?
Yeah. Either commit or you don't commit.
Correct. But our recommendation would be, if you want to do finance and accounting first, do that first. As that starts moving forward and accelerating, get ready and get all the ducks lined up for your next tower and then your third tower and your fourth tower. And a lot of our clients actually tend to do that, which is why we get our 80-85% growth from existing customers, because they tend to do one, then the next, and the next, and the next.
Yes.
It keeps us very honest. It keeps us on our toes, because there is absolutely no chance I'm going to get the next tower unless I'm delivering successfully on the first tower.
Yeah, that's right. Will there be a point where you've got all the organization's towers in your basically running outsource the entire organization to you?
I think for a number of the GE businesses, we run pretty much a lot of stuff. We don't do too much of HR for the GE businesses because they've given payroll to a couple of other people and so on. Okay. So bar HR, we do a whole lot of things with a number of the GE businesses. We do a whole lot of things for some of our other clients that we signed up in the early part of 2005.
Right.
We've had clients who've doubled the business every year for 5 consecutive years. And the only way you do that is by adding more and more towers.